Here is a 6-month update about our cocktail cherry tree and a whole bunch of other ideas for your garden, so stay with us. Here is a 6-month update on the progress of our 5-variety cherry cocktail tree that we planted here in our front garden back in January. So this is a 6-month update. Stay tuned. We're going to show you all about it. My name is Dave Perling. We are in our home in Chula Vista, California, in suburban San Diego. This is my gardening channel. If you like my channel, please hit a like and also subscribe. Now, we planted this cherry tree, this cocktail cherry tree, back in January, 6 months ago, and we posted a video about that planting, the day of planting, and also 2 or 3 updates after that. But here we are 6 months out, and there's some interesting points about our progress which we're going to show you. Here are the 5 varieties of cherry tree, starting at the bottom. Here is a black Tartarian cherry on this limb. Here is a Lappin's cherry. And going up, here is a Royal Anne cherry. The green tag over there is a Stella cherry. And then the yellow tag is a Meteor cherry. That is the one stem, the Meteor cherry, that was the one stem that we had the most concern about because it was very slow to break out in the early spring. If you go back and watch our videos from earlier this year, especially the 2nd, 3rd, maybe the 4th updates, you'll see that we were concerned that the center stem, the Meteor cherry stem, gave us cause for concern because it wasn't leafing out at all at first. The other stems leafed out early on. Within a few weeks we had buds and leaves and so forth on all 4 of the other stems, but this Meteor cherry stem was coming on real slow. And we weren't certain if it was still alive. It turns out that it is. As you can see here, there's leaves on all the stems except for one, leafing out pretty. It's not nearly as big and as vigorous as these other stems are, but it looks like it's doing okay. And so we really think it's going to be good. Keep in mind that these cherry trees, cocktail trees I should say, can be a problem in that one of the varieties or another will tend to take over the tree because it's more vigorous. So you have to do some diligent pruning to keep the 2 vigorous stems pruned back so the smaller stems can kind of catch up and also fill in. And that's what we're going to do with this. We're going to do some pruning today. I'll show you that. But overall, we're pleased with how this tree is coming along. We haven't had any trouble. We have fertilized. We had a few snails come up on some of these leaves here a few weeks ago, but we just picked them off, threw them out. And other than that, it looks real healthy. It's growing well, and we'll see if it leaves out next spring, in the spring of 2024. Right now, regarding that Meteor cherry stem in the center, we do have one limb on the back here. You can see that hasn't done anything. So we're going to go ahead and just prune that off and remove it. There you go. Throw that to decompose in other part of our garden. But now, all the stems on there now are leafing out. And I think there's a nice open space here in the middle that this Meteor cherry stem can kind of fill in. So it should be good. And but we're very pleased that it did finally leaf out and it looks real healthy. It just took longer. We had for 6 months, we've been 10 degrees cooler than normal here in the San Diego area. I don't know what happened there with our weather phenomenon, but it did happen. And but when it warmed up enough, this Meteor cherry stem did break. The buds did break, and there was leaf out. And we think maybe the weather had something to do. Maybe that stem required more heat or warmth or something. We live in a condominium here in Chula Vista, and our HOA rules say that we are not allowed to plant anything outside our home at all. We can do container gardening, but planting in the ground is not allowed. So we had to plant our cocktail cherry tree in this large pot that was also purchased at the same time at the same big box retailer that we got the tree and the soil from. We don't know how long we can keep this tree in this pot like this, how long enough before it overgrows and just has to be disposed of. We're hoping to get 1 or 2 years of crops out of it. If we get any cherries next year in 2024, we'll be very pleased. But that remains to be seen. The tree has a lot of buds forming up and down the stems, and let's hope we get some, and we'll make a cherry pie for you then, okay? Some of the varieties of our cherry tree have grown more vigorously than the others, particularly this Royal Anne cherry. See, its limbs are really shot up quite a lot longer than the others. And the other one that has is the Stella cherry. It's shot up a lot more. Now we did prune we pruned the Lapins cherry earlier this year because it was hanging over our walkway here and preventing our easy in and out. So we're going to take, we think it's okay now to, we're going to balance the tree out, we're going to prune some of those two limbs. We're going to prune first the Royal Land cherry. I'll prune it right about here, right to a bud. And then we'll prune the Stella cherry. The Stella cherry. We're going to prune the Stella cherry to a similar point right about here to kind of balance the tree out now. And so now it has a little better balance on it. In order to better balance the tree, we also did a little extra pruning on this on the Lapins cherry. So this branch is ranging way out too far, and we did a similar clip on the Royal Land cherry, took off one of its long rangy branches. So now the whole tree we think is balanced better and will grow and hopefully even out over time. And please stay with us here because we're going to do a little tour of our garden here on the front porch and show you what else we have. Here's another project you can easily complete yourself at home in just an hour or so. A little stepping stone path like this. We bought these stepping stones at the same big box retailer we bought our cherry tree from. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, like 13 of them. And we just came in, we scraped the bark chips back a little bit for each one set it in, bingo, we were done that fast, real easy. It's a lot easier to do it this way than to do a formal concrete walk or say a brick paver walk. There's a lot of work involved in that, and this now gives us access to our other plants in the area. We have a hummingbird fountain bath back there, and so now we can get in and out of here real easy and not track a lot of bark chips around. We have snuck in a few things in our HOA bed here. One is this recent planting of our yellow hibiscus here. We did have an oleander here that our HOA gardeners for some reason didn't like and they took it out, but there are several hibiscus growing in our complex, so we think this one will be left alone and be okay. Here is a view from a different angle of our new yellow hibiscus shrub that we put in a few weeks ago, and it's doing really well, and we think it's going to be left alone by our HOA gardeners because there are a lot of other hibiscus shrubs planted here, and they've been here for many years. A couple of more of our sneakies are these. We have two camellias we planted in this bed right here. One here and one here. And they bloomed very late, I think because of the cold weather. They're supposed to bloom in the fall. Ours actually bloomed this spring, about 4 to 6 months later. But they're doing okay. We found that these are pretty sensitive to too much sun. They'll get sunburned. And but they get shade here until at least noon every day, and then by about 4 or 5 too. So it's not too bad. They are doing okay. Also, back here, if you can see it, we have this little hibiscus that this poor thing. We planted this 3 or 4 years ago, and we've moved it 3 or 4 times for various reasons. But now it's finally seems to be doing okay in its newest home. I think we can leave it here now. It'll be okay. Here is a closer in view of that poor little hibiscus of ours. We moved that thing 3 or 4 times. I think we planted it 3 years ago, and it's barely probably 18 inches tall by now, but it looks like it's responding really well. I've been giving it more fertilizer this spring and summer, and that seems to be responding really, really well to that. So we'll see what happens with it. We're going to keep it, of course. I mentioned earlier that we need to plant things in containers here, and we do that, and that's acceptable to our HOA, and our neighbors, when they come by, they love our planting. So we put this rose in, this yellow rose purchased from a big box retailer 2 or 3 months ago, and it's just exploded and grows. It's in between bloom cycles right now, but it blooms these beautiful yellow roses. We really like it. To the left of that is our plants for the benefits of our monarch butterflies. This is the butterfly weed plant, also called Asclepias tuberosa. When I look it up, it's not really supposed to do well in our area, but we bought these online last year, planted them, and they did okay. They went dormant in the fall and then came back out in the spring. This one has bloomed out already, and we do see some evidence of the monarch butterflies feeding on it. There's another one in a smaller container next to it, and then I'll show you in a moment. We do have a monarch chrysalis right behind the rose right here. I'll show you that here in a moment. This is our yellow rose, fresh in the morning after an overnight rain. How nice. Take a look at how our rose bush is getting ready to explode with new blooms. Several buds coming up right here. Another half a dozen or so right here. Just out of your picture, as many more. This thing is going to explode with yellow roses in the next several days, and we're very, very pleased with this progress. So stay tuned. We'll give you updates on that too. You can see in the center of this frame a monarch chrysalis. It's right here. Can you see that? I just touched it. And that one doesn't look real healthy because it's only turning black in the top half of it. I've never seen that before. Normally the whole thing turns black, so we don't know what's going to happen with this one, but we're going to leave it, of course, to see what it does. We have had a couple others basically leaf out or bud out and break, and had a monarch fly away a few weeks ago, so we're real happy about that. I'll show you a close-up of that chrysalis now. In this frame you can see a close-up of that chrysalis, and it's been there for a week or 10 days. We're going to just leave it go and see what happens. Again, I'm not real certain it's healthy because the only top half is turning black. They turn black all the way from top to bottom just before the adult monarch butterfly emerges. If you watch my channel, look at my channel, I do have a time lapse of an adult monarch butterfly emerging from its chrysalis here last year. That happened right around the end of February, first part of March. And so check that out. You can see when actually, the video quality is not that great, but you can see what happens. So please check that out. It's here on my channel, and you may be interested. And if you have children and want to get monarch butterflies growing and propagating in your garden bed, try planting some milkweed. And these again are the ones we have. I just showed you are the butterfly weed, Asclepias tuberosa. Supposedly not hardy for our area, but ours are doing good. Here is another potted butterfly weed, Asclepias tuberosa, right here. It still has flowers on it. The other plants I showed you a moment ago have bloomed out already, and we don't know if they'll bloom out again this year or not. This again, butterfly weed, Asclepias tuberosa, is one of the good milkweeds. Here is our stand of narrow leaf milkweed. Some of these we purchased as growing plants from a garden center here in San Diego. Others we planted from seed purchased online. And this is very important when you plant milkweed plants. Plant the ones that are good for the monarchs. There's one that grows prolifically here in our area called tropical milkweed. The botanical name is Asclepias curasavaca. Asclepias curasavaca. Tropical milkweed is not good to plant. It can harbor a pathogen that can cause a disease in the monarch larva, and it causes them problems. So I started out with that plant not knowing at all what it was at first, and then I learned that it was a tropical milkweed, and then I dug into that and I found out that it can be bad. So we've gotten rid of all those. Curiously enough, I did have one come up as a volunteer in one of these pots right here behind me, but anyways, we got rid of that one a week or so ago. But so the rule of thumb is this: orange and yellow flowers are bad. Tropical milkweed, Asclepias curasavaca, does have orange and yellow flowers. Bad. Orange and yellow on the same blossom. Pink and white blossoms, and I'll show you a close-up of this one on our narrow leaf, are good. Our butterfly weed, the Asclepias tuberosa, which we showed you over there, is all orange, so that's good. So pink and white is good, all orange is good, orange and yellow bad. And curiously, some of the big box garden centers here were selling tropical milkweed as late as last year. However, I happen to know from talking to somebody at Home Depot who did carry it last year, they're not going to carry it this year. And And apparently they're not going to have any milkweed. This milkweed, narrowleaf milkweed, which is Asclepias fascicularis, begins with an F. I have a hard time saying it, FASC something, and you can look that up, but it's a good milkweed. It is available. Just call around before you go, and you can find it. The tuberosa, the butterfly weed, I couldn't find for sale anywhere here in the San Diego area, but I ordered online, and again, it's not supposedly our climate isn't the best for that plant, but mine came back just fine. They went dormant in the fall and came back just fine this spring. So there you have it. Here is a tighter in shot of my narrowleaf milkweed, the Asclepias fascicularis. Again, it has pink and white flowers, which is good for the monarchs. Orange yellow flowers are bad for the monarchs, such as the tropical milkweed Asclepias curasavaca has. If you live in a colder part of the country, that plant probably won't be a problem for you, but it is becoming invasive, I've heard, here in Southern California. I've even heard that some of the big box stores aren't going to carry it anymore. If you call around, you can find the narrowleaf milkweed like you see here. You can find it. The butterfly weed, the Asclepias tuberosa, I've never found here because it's not really listed as being good for our area as far as our climate goes, but for me it's doing just fine. These 4 containers all contain narrowleaf milkweed. I planted these from seed back 2 or 3 years ago in the summertime. I purchased the seeds online from a place here in San Diego, and they sprouted right away, and they're doing fine. Last year, in February of 2022, we saw as many as 4 or 5 monarch chrysalis on the plant on the corner there. At the same time, they're all within a circle of about 4 to 6 inches, and then they all matured, and the adult butterflies came out and flew away. We actually have a time lapse of one of the adults emerging from another chrysalis just on the wall behind those pots, and that's kind of interesting to see how that worked out for us. But there you have it, and remember, the bad milkweed, Asclepias curasavaca, also known as tropical milkweed, has orange and yellow flowers. Stay away from that one. It can harbor a pathogen. The milkweeds I'm showing you here in my garden are good. The narrowleaf has pink and white flowers, and the butterfly weed, the Asclepias tuberosa, is all orange. So you're good with those two. You've seen how much we love container gardening. Here are 2 of our cactus and succulent planters we did in the last year or so, and they're thriving, of course. The one on the left is just in a regular bowl. Yeah, again, this is all done standing up. There's no shovels. It's very easy to do. If you're using cactus with spines or anything with spines, wear gloves. But there you have it. We put that in, and it's really thriving. To the lower left there, you can see our cactus terrarium. We purchased that terrarium jar, if you will, online. They're readily available. The company that makes it is called Smith & Hawken. They're a well-known garden products company, and it's not very expensive. These are more tricky to plant because you have to put everything in through that opening, but look at the cactus poking up through the top of the jar there. It was 2 inches below when we planted it last year, so this is really thriving well, and it's tricky to do. I need to do a video on that. Send me a message if you want more information about that. Please take a look at this bowl. Again, planted about a year ago. It's got a barrel cactus there in the front center, and to the red flowering to the upper part of the back of the bowl is kalanchoe. Kalanchoe is spelled with a K. Looks like kalanchoe spelled out, but it's actually pronounced kalanchoe. Look at the flower stalk there coming up. Can you see this right here? Look at this flower stalk coming up. Isn't that nice how that looks? And then this plant right here is an agave. It's called agave blue glow. It's really special because when it gets backlit by sunlight, the margins of the leaves glow red like neon. It's really cool to see. So if you have that in a spot where it can catch some low angle sunlight in the morning or afternoon and backlights those leaves, you'll just be blown away by how that looks. The kalanchoe flowers will turn brown after several days. At that point, just prune those off, and then the plant will send up new flowers within a few weeks. It's a continuing on and off cycle. So make sure you prune off the brown. If you leave them, it won't hurt the plant. It just looks better, and then it gives more space for the new flowers to come in. You already know how much we love and enjoy container gardening. As mentioned earlier, container gardening is really easy to do. All you do is you put your container, maybe put some soil in the bottom depending on the depth of your root balls of your plants. Set your plants in. Using your bare hands, just pack some soil around with your fingers a little bit. Not too hard, but hard enough. Then water and set it out and you're good to go. To make ours really easy, we purchased this. This was a workbench, sold at a big box retailer, but it's my potting bench. It's only 5 steps from my front door. So when time to plant something, I get my supplies, I do it right here. It's waist high, no bending, no digging, no shoveling. It's really, really nice to have and nice to do. This container garden we just replanted yesterday. It's on our side patio off our living room, and we had the sun patience in there, sun loving impatiens in there. Sun patience is a trade name, but we don't believe that they would have thrived in the lack of sunshine that this patio gets. So we purchased a 1-gallon pentas plant. That's the red flowers in the foreground there, and we split that and made it into 2 plants and planted it, as you can see, in that container. And then behind that are some red caladium plants. We'll see how it does. I'm a little bit leery about the pentas getting enough light, but we'll see what happens with it. We're in the height of summertime right now in the San Diego area, so maybe we'll be okay with that. This is another recently planted container garden, as recently as yesterday. We had our sun impatiens in this container out on our patio off our living room. Turns out I don't think it was getting enough sunlight, so we transplanted them into this pot and then moved it out to our front patio. It gets a lot more sunlight out here, and we hope that that responds well to that. This is our succulent window box. It's on a plant stand, so it's not on a window, but just filled up with all kinds of wonderful succulents. There was a lot of open soil between the plants when we planted it a year and a half ago, but look how it's filled in. We had previously had impatiens in them. They thrived, of course, but we tried to change it up, and these things are so easy to care for. They need very little water. I can't tell you how often you'll need yours to have water, but or to fertilize, but they don't need very much compared to other plants you might have in containers. But this thing has just really thrived, as you can see. Here's a close-up of that orange flowering flower stalk. Look how marvelous that looked. Can you see that? And this is so easy, so give this a try. I really encourage you. Of course, succulents and cactus are ideal for warm climates where I live in Southern California, but if you live in a colder area of the country, this can work. Just bring your bowl in and put it in a sunny window in the wintertime when it's below freezing, and put it back out in the spring. My grandson and I, who was 7 years old at the time, planted one of these last September of 2022, at his home in the Chicago suburbs. His dad brought it into their heated garage where they have a window, put it by the window, and it made it through the winter just fine. It's back out on their patio now. It looks great now. We were there a month ago and saw it. It looks very, very good. So this is an area. You can do this anywhere in the country where you live. Just bring it in and protect it in warmer indoors in the wintertime. Besides container gardening, we are really deep into hummingbirds here. We have, I think, a dozen feeders out around our home, 3 or 4 on each of our patios, and anywhere from 2 to 4 on each of our patios, depending. And we love these little critters. They come all day long. They're more prolific in the morning and late afternoon, early morning and late afternoon. They don't come so much in the midday, but look on the feeder on the upper right. You can see one poking its beak into the feeder and taking some of that nectar. We do change our nectar out twice a week using the Audubon Society mix of 1 part sugar to 4 parts water, and we boil that for about 30 seconds and let it cool. It's very easy to do, and it's way less expensive than buying that pre-made nectar. And a lot of the pre-made nectar has preservatives and red coloring, which the birds don't need. We just use straight granular sugar, 1 part sugar to 4 parts water. Do not use powder sugar. Do not use brown sugar. Do not use any kind of honey as an additive. Never do that. Granular sugar only. The Audubon Society has a great page about this on their website, so check that out. There's a little visitor right now. See it on our window feeder that sticks on with a suction cup. Enjoying a little snack there. And another visitor on the upper right feeder. Can you see it? They're coming by with not the super regularity this morning, but they are coming by one every minute or so. And another one on the center feeder on this right edge. Can you see that? Here's one. Another one coming in. So they're coming with pretty good frequency right now, and they chase each other off. These guys do not play well. Do not play well with others. When one comes in, another one chases it off, and so forth. That's why having feeders spread like we do all around our yard, where they can't see one feeder group from the other, that seems to help this out a little bit. Something that can help you when you're doing photography and or videos of hummingbirds is to look like a flowering shrub, like I do right now. I bought this shirt online, I got the hat online, and even this mask helps to conceal my face. And when I wear this, they seem to approach a little more readily. I just had one circling around me like it thought I was a flowering shrub. So try that sometimes. You want to track them close up to you. It works. And another little visitor. See him there in our window feeder, the one that sticks on with suction cups? Another one coming in. Right, chase that one off. See it? A couple in that frame. See that? They do like that feeder. They don't like each other though, as you just saw. He's taking a good long sip. We hope you enjoyed our little tour this morning, and stay with us and check in from time to time. We post videos on a somewhat regular basis, and I'll have more about this hummingbird coffee mug in a moment. Here's one side of it. Here's the other side. We had these made from pictures that we took. I'll get you some close-ups of this in a moment. We love container gardening, we love hummingbirds, and we love photography. Because of that, we were able to have these coffee mugs made up with some images of our photography about hummingbirds. This was a shot that we got. This was a shot that we got inside of a Home Depot garden center last March. And if you look closely, you can see how the yellow flower there, that's a Carolina jasmine, shows through the feathers of the wings on the hummer there. See that? That's pretty cool, huh? Turning the mug around, there are also 4 other images that I've gotten over the last couple of years. And if you want, I can send you one of these mugs. They're not free. I got to recoup my costs, but there's 4 images on there of various things I've shot, some here in our garden here and some at another place. But there you have it. Send me a note if you'd like one of these. They're about 25 bucks. Here is perhaps a better shot of the coffee mug showing both sides, and the one side on the left has the 4-shot collage one labeled Hum Along, and the other one on the right is a shot that I got on my iPhone in a Home Depot garden center with a little hummer flying up to a Carolina jasmine. Look how you can see the yellow flower through its wings on the very right side of that picture. We think that turned out pretty good. And here is a closer in shot showing both sides of the coffee mug. And let me know if you'd like to have one sent to you, and we'll get that arranged for you. Thank you.